Join us as we count 3 really creepy true arcade stories that will make you think twice before stepping foot into an arcade again. Story 1. The Creep. When I was a young kid, there were no smartphones or crazy advanced video games. Local arcades were the big thing back then. There was this arcade right by my school that my friends and I would often go to after or on the weekend. One day, I went there with my friend Greg right after school. It was kind of quiet there today because it was a stormy day and most kids probably went immediately to their houses. Greg and I were playing some fighting game when this older guy approached us and started watching us play. Greg and I both felt a little bit of unease. What happened next was just worse. With each move we made in our game, he would comment things like, "Good shot," and "so close." It was getting annoying and weird. He didn't stop. He just kept going, although we'd been probably playing for about 30 minutes. Doesn't this guy have anything better to do? To get rid of him, we decided to migrate to another game. However, he followed us, and even said he would pay for our game of air hockey. We felt something was off. A few minutes into the game and he started to get even more creepier, patting our shoulders and heads when we scored. We felt so uncomfortable and decided it was time to leave. We're not enjoying it anymore. We told the guy we were going to head home, and he offered to give us a ride to our homes because the weather was crazy outside. However, we refused gently, and left. As we were heading home, we could hear a car engine from behind, approaching us. We turned around and it was a greyish van, the same guy behind the wheel. When he arrived, he pulled down the window and kept insisting that we should hop in his van because we would get sick because of all the rain. We refused once again. The guy simply wasn't going to give up. The streets were pretty empty back then. This freak had all the time in the world to chase us down the street. We finally made it home. And as I was about to tell my parents about that guy, he just sped up down the street. Going to school the next day, I'm sure I saw the same grey van, parked a few blocks away from my house, and it was following me as I walked to school. I knocked on the neighbour's door and explained everything. They called the cops who came to investigate. Sadly enough, CCTVs there didn't catch the guy's plate. But fortunately, I'm pretty sure that scared him, because it was the last time I ever met that creep. Story 2. Predator in the resort. It's October. My family and I embarked on a much anticipated vacation to a family resort in upstate New York. The resort offered a respite from the hustle and bustle of city life. I usually hang with my older brothers, Damien and Jamie, who spend much of their time together exploring the vast resort ground. One day, my parents gave us all money to play games at the arcade inside the activity hall building, assuming that I would join my older brothers. However, I was feeling adventurous and decided to explore the resort grounds by myself. I looked around the entire resort, passed by families playing, who were playing different outdoor games. I eventually found myself inside the activity hall building, where I stumbled upon a massive arcade. It was a grand sight to behold, a hall of flashing lights and blaring sounds, with rows upon rows of classic arcade machines. As I searched for a game to play, my attention was drawn to a mysterious door in the far corner of the room. The door had a fogged-up glass window in the middle, making it impossible to see inside, but I was certain I saw something moving behind the glass. Curiosity piqued, I walked closer to the door, hoping to get a better look inside. That's when I saw it, a blurry figure standing still and staring back at me for an eternity. It just stood there, motionless, and I couldn't make out its features through the distorted glass. I thought it was a doll or something similar, and I just went to look for a game to play. As I played Street Fighters, my eyes kept darting back to the mysterious door. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the figure behind the glass. After losing the game, I made my way back to the door and peered inside once more. This time though, I pressed my face right up against the glass, and that's when I saw it. The face behind the glass was not a decoration, but a real person. I gasped in horror and stumbled back in shock. I quickly turned around and ran out of the arcade, heart pounding in my chest. As I made my way back to my family's room, I couldn't shake the image of the figure from my mind. I told my parents about it, but they just chalked it up to my overactive imagination, and we all went to dinner in the dining hall that evening. But as we sat down to eat, something strange happened. A man at a nearby table caught my attention. He was sitting alone, facing me, looking directly towards me. His eyes didn't leave me for a second. I couldn't help but stare back at him, but something just didn't sit right with me. It was as if my instincts were warning me that something was off. I was certain that he was the same guy behind the blurry glass. I looked away, feeling uneasy. My parents noticed that, and I told them about that person. My dad turned around and looked at the guy straight in the eyes, as if he was warning them that he was aware of what's going on. The man suddenly got up to leave. He turned to look at me one last time. I pretended not to notice, but I could feel his eyes on me. I watched him leave, and once he was out of sight, I let out a sigh of relief. That was the last time I'd met that stranger, but after all these years, that smile was still engraved in my memory. Story 3. Anonymous. As a man, I never thought that I'd be the target of someone's obsession. That's exactly what happened when I met Jocelyn, a 19-year-old girl I met on Instagram together. And to my surprise, she was so rude to others, a little bit too possessive, and I had to end everything early. At that time, I even started talking to another girl named Michelle, and even went on a date with her. I had 3 texts from a random number and a picture of Michelle and me in front of the basketball game we were playing. The text read, "No way you are also here." At first I assumed it was just a friend messing with me. But when it happened again a few minutes later, I knew it was something more serious. This time, the picture was blurry, and it looked like it was zoomed in from about 50 feet away. The text read, "My fave game." I asked Michelle to wait while I went to the area where the picture was taken from. When I got there, I saw a bunch of strangers playing different games. I didn't know who it was. When I texted the number back, they asked me who I thought it was. I didn't know what to do, so I suggested to Michelle that we should leave. As we were leaving, I got another text from the same number that said, "This early?" I didn't respond, but when we got back to my house, things got even creepier. I got another text, and this time there was a picture of my house. The text read, "Beautiful house, come outside." This was a direct threat, and I knew how to act fast. I grabbed my gun and rushed downstairs and out the front door. That's when I saw a big guy in front of my house with a baseball bat in his hand, swinging it left and right. He immediately raised his hands and fell on his knees when I aimed at him. Michelle called the police and they were on their way. I asked the guy who he was and why he was following me. Immediately, he said he was Jocelyn's brother, and that he was just trying to stick up for his sister because she told him I've hit her, which actually never happened. I was furious. A few minutes later, the cops arrived arresting the guy. I was so mad I messaged Jocelyn, "You better pick your brother up from jail." And from that day, I haven't heard anything from them ever since.